unseen threat. Why Sabalenka fears a clap. The girl who once walked silently in the shadows is now stunning the entire tennis community. An unexpected honor, a spotlight she never sought, culminating in the undisguised tension in the eyes of the world number one, Aryna Sabalenka. In less than 24 hours, an award seemingly symbolic turned into the catalyst for a new power struggle in the WTA. And at the center of this media storm is Alexa Eala, a teenager from a nation few ever considered a tennis powerhouse. What do you think Sabalenka fears? A drop in rank? No. Losing a title? Not quite. The thing that unnerves champions the most isn't defeat. It's the feeling of no longer being loved as they once were. And as Eala stepped onto the stage, accepting the honorary plaque to thunderous applause, Sabalenka's frozen, uneasy gaze said it all. She knows the game is changing. And perhaps her reign is under threat. Make no mistake, this is more than a simple sporting moment. This is a new power map forming in silence. A younger generation, emerging from the fringes of the old system, is claiming its voice. And when an award traditionally given to those who have proven their worth suddenly falls to a player who has never won a Grand Slam, the uproar in the tennis world is inevitable. We are entering a completely new chapter of women's tennis. In it, not only skill, but narrative and image determine who captures the audience's heart. And if you think this is just temporary drama, wait until these two players meet on court. Because when emotions are suppressed, serves carry not only speed, but also anxiety, pride, and a warning. You are watching Pro Tennis 360, the only place that dares to tell you what the mainstream media won't. And trust me, what happens next will silence the world. The truth no one wants to face. In a post-match interview, when asked about the public reaction, Eala simply replied, "I haven't done anything worthy of words like replacement or icon. I'm still just a player learning to keep my feet on the ground." That was a statement of humility, but also a warning. The entire tennis world was leaning on her to build a new story. Brands, broadcasters, international federations, all expecting Eala to be more than just a good player, but the face of a new era. But that pressure is something an 18-year-old girl never asked for. And Sabalenka? After the match, she disappeared from the media for several days. No statements, no practice videos, just one Instagram story. Sometimes silence is louder than applause. Some read that as a complaint. Others called it a subtle clapback. But most clearly saw a monument was shaking, not because her technique faltered, but because the times were choosing someone else. The world of sports is ruthless. Today, you are the hailed one. Tomorrow, you are just a footnote in an article about your successor. The biggest question is no longer who is more deserving, but can a champion's career survive when the world stops telling their story? Not titles, but being chosen. When the dust settles, only one thing remains clear. The award that day was merely an excuse. The thing that truly unnerved Sabalenka, that shook the entire tennis world, wasn't the honorary plaque in Eala's hands. It was the chilling question: what happens when a nonconformist young person is suddenly chosen to represent the future of the entire sport? In a world where titles are no longer everything, then being loved, being talked about, and being trusted is the real power. And Eala, though she never asked for it, was chosen for that position, not because she asked, but because the era needed someone like her. And Sabalenka? Perhaps she doesn't fear losing the #1 spot. But maybe what she fears the most is losing herself in a story where she is no longer the main character. This isn't just a match. This is a narrative transition. And when the narrative changes hands, everything you fought to keep can vanish in a single clap. You are watching Pro Tennis 360, where we recount the truths that the scoreboard cannot show. Subscribe if you want to follow the emotional battles behind the spotlight. Because tennis is not just sport, it is politics, emotion, and who gets chosen to write history. The outsider's beginning. No one chose Alexa Eala to be the next big thing. She didn't come from a famous academy in Florida. She doesn't share the surname of a tennis legend. and she wasn't featured on major magazine covers as a teenager. In an ecosystem where fame is often sown early, Eala was just a small name, hailing from a country where tennis was never a national pride. She entered this world quietly. No multi-million-dollar endorsement deals. No legendary coach backing her. Just an old backpack, a few rackets with worn strings, and the look of someone who knew she was playing an unequal game. And even when she won junior titles, the media dismissed it as luck or just a moment. Worse, they called her an anomaly, a strange case, perhaps interesting, but not powerful enough to create change. For Eala, every time she stepped onto the court wasn't just about playing. It was about asserting her right to be there, a right no one granted, but one she had to earn herself. Yet, it was from this underestimated position that an inner strength began to ignite. Not the impulsive kind of energy, but a kind of quiet resolve. The kind that allowed her to practice for hours when no one was filming, to play on court 3 where there were no spectators, and to accept loss without crumbling. She once wrote in her notebook, "You earn the noise, but first you learn to play in silence." And she played. In silence, in doubt, in anonymity. But that is also where main characters are made, when no one thinks they will be the main character. This isn't just a talent. This is someone who walked onto a stage that wasn't meant for her, and decided to claim it. Do you think Eala was a name Sabalenka ever considered a threat? No. But that is exactly what makes things dangerous. Because the unpredicted ones are the ones who change the game. The unexpected victories. Eala's first success wasn't a match win. It was the first moment a commentator had to recheck her name. A qualifying match at a WTA 250 seemed insignificant. But when Eala defeated a world number 40 player, in a match lasting over 3 hours, the entire American sports wire simultaneously reported, a 17-year-old wildcard just shocked the seed. The name Alexa Eala began appearing in tweets on ESPN's Top Moments and in hardcore tennis fan groups on Reddit. It wasn't a media explosion, but it was the first crack in the invisible wall separating her from the WTA elite. No one fully understood the intensity of the pressure during those weeks. Subsequent wins didn't come easily. Every round was a physical and psychological test. But what started catching the eye of experts wasn't just the score, it was Eala's demeanor on the court. She didn't celebrate wildly, didn't scream after every ace. She played with a composure, almost cold, as if she had foreseen her victory. And that very composure began to cause concern. A young player who didn't need many words to make the biggest names take notice. Top 10 players started being asked about Eala in press conferences. Some praised her, others avoided the topic. But one person remained silent. Sabalenka. Not a tweet, not a word of congratulations. While the rest of the tennis world began to see Eala as a new symbol, Sabalenka maintained a silence that was suspicious. It could be coincidence. But in tennis circles, silence is always a message. And when a champion like Sabalenka chooses not to respond, it's no longer indifference. It's a sign, a warning, and perhaps a fear. What do you think? Is silence polite or is it tactical? Because from that moment, the game was no longer confined to the court. The unexpected honor when the spotlight shifts. The day began like any other. Mild sunshine. Practice courts opened early. Players walked back and forth with wireless headphones and polite smiles. A peaceful afternoon in the middle of the season until an email appeared. A special recognition will be presented today. No one knew what it was. No name, no hints, just a vague announcement. Many thought it would be a tribute to a former champion or a veteran player about to retire. But when the stage was erected in the middle of a center court, when the big screen displayed the words International Rising Legacy Honor and the name Alexa Eala was called, the entire stands were stunned into silence. That name, seemingly still unfamiliar to those who only follow Grand Slams, now became the focal point of one of the season's most prestigious honors. And the camera, as if scripted, zoomed straight to Sabalenka. 1 second, a clenching of the jaw, averting the gaze, crossed arms, and a small expression, but enough for the media to tear apart into 100 interpretations. Immediately, social media exploded. Hashtags #EalaRising and #SabalenkaReact simultaneously trended on Twitter. Slow-motion clips of Sabalenka's expression were looped with tense background music. One side hailed the rise of the new generation. The other suspected this was a political game in sports. And Sabalenka? Silence. But this time, silence couldn't save her. Whispers turned into tweets. Hypotheses turned into headlines. And when the media asked directly in the press conference, Sabalenka answered with a sentence that froze the room. "I think honors should reflect achievements. That's all I'll say. No more needed." One sentence was enough to ignite the unnamed battle. When a name becomes a declaration. From the moment Eala stepped onto the stage, plaque in hand, eyes welling up but steady, she was no longer just a young player. She was an icon, and an icon cannot be easily dismissed. What Sabalenka and the rest of the world failed to realize was Eala wasn't chosen for her accomplishments. She was chosen for her story, for the hope, for the symbolism that women's tennis had been lacking for too long. A girl from Southeast Asia, a region without an established tennis training system, now stepping onto the center stage, as if holding a microphone for millions who had been overlooked. And in elite sports, the narrative is the strongest currency. Not the serve, not the titles, but the narrative. And Eala, whether intentionally or not, captured the biggest narrative of the season. She didn't need to say much. A brief answer in a press conference, "Maybe the sport is changing," was enough to spark a fierce debate. Changing in what direction? Who is being replaced? And is Sabalenka the old guard? The more silent Sabalenka remained, the more she was pulled into a defensive position. All eyes were no longer following her aces, but her reaction to a newcomer. And this is what no champion wants to face. Because in sports, death doesn't come from losing a match, but from losing the spotlight. And when the spotlight shifts, everyone understands. This isn't just an honor. This is a declaration of war. The war without gunshots. When silence became a burden, when every gesture was scrutinized, Sabalenka began to fight back, not with words, but with racket force. In practice sessions following the award ceremony, videos showed Sabalenka hitting the ball harder than usual. Every swing seemed to vent the boiling frustration in her chest. Reporters noted, she's not saying anything about Eala, but every swing carries a message. I'm not ready to give up anything. Meanwhile, on the adjacent practice court, Alexa Eala was as composed as ever. No sudden acceleration. No responding to the press. She smiled gently with her team, then continued training as if the whole world wasn't talking about her. Two personalities, two ways of reacting. One straining to maintain her position, the other quietly advancing, as if she didn't need to defeat anyone to be the chosen one. But the bitter irony for Sabalenka and the fascination for the media was this. The harder she tried to keep the spotlight, the more she was pulled out of the center of the story. Every psychological development was now meticulously detailed by hundreds of bloggers, Twitter threads, and slow-motion fan analyses. A clip of Sabalenka walking past Eala in the gym without acknowledging her, instantly set to villain background music. A like, then an unlike, on a subtle post suggesting, not all honors are earned. Public opinion exploded. No one verified the authenticity, but no one cared. Because in the age of social media, truth is secondary. Perception is what defines the narrative. And in this story, the general perception was clear. Sabalenka was losing control. Not in her game, but in the way the public perceived her. The question was no longer who is better, but rather, who is more loved. Behind an award is a strategic choice. The truth few knew. Eala wasn't the initial choice for the International Rising Legacy Honor. In the internal nomination list, she ranked fourth. Above her were players with more junior achievements, higher rankings, and hailing from countries with strong tennis influence. So what changed? An anonymous organizing committee member shared with the press, "We needed a new face, a genuine story, a representative for a different direction for global tennis. Eala was not chosen for her titles. She was chosen for her narrative. And that's what made Sabalenka and many other players uneasy. Because if a career is no longer measured by the number of wins, what is it measured by? Public sentiment? Diversity? Media appeal? For those who rose through sheer struggle, blood, and sweat on the court, being superseded by a beautiful story is the most painful blow. And Sabalenka, though unspoken, was feeling that. And Eala? Was she aware that she was the face of the new generation? Perhaps, but no one saw her capitalize on it. No sensational statements, no change in style to please the media. The only thing she did was to continue playing tennis, as if the world around her did not exist. And that very composure made her image stronger. Not because she tried to seize the spotlight, but because she didn't demand the spotlight, yet she got it. This is no longer a battle for titles. This is a battle for the narrative. And when the narrative shifts, those who once held the center begin to doubt even justice. The inevitable flashpoint. No one said it, but everyone knew. A confrontation was inevitable. Initially, it was just glances, then attitude, then cryptic comments in press conferences. But by the time Eala and Sabalenka were placed in the same draw, things were no longer implicit. This was when tension turned into a real battle. Broadcasters started taking bets. Journalists hastily gathered data, stats, and practice clips. Twitter was in an uproar. Reddit was a hotbed of discussion. Everyone knew. If the two met on court, it would be an explosion of emotions, not just because of the skill, but because of the unprecedented psychological layers between two contrasting personalities. On the day of the match, tickets sold out in 10 minutes. On television, it wasn't introduced as a second-round match, but as the clash of two generations, two definitions of glory, two directions for an entire sport. Eala walked onto the court to thunderous cheers. No longer an unfamiliar name, she had become the symbol of the new wave. And Sabalenka, with a cold gaze and determined stride, was the embodiment of defiance. An icon being displaced and not ready to let go. Throughout the initial games, neither gave ground. Sabalenka's serves were like cannon fire. Eala's counterattacks were fluid and highly strategic. But it wasn't the play that glued eyes to the screen. It was the look between the two every time they changed sides, every time they faced each other at the net, every time the score was tight. That wasn't just tennis. That was emotional politics. It was survival instinct. It was two worlds colliding, not through words, but through every stroke. At one point, the camera caught Sabalenka yelling after losing a point, "I'm not done," and the crowd fell silent. A statement that sounded like a declaration, but also like a cry for help. Because sometimes the person most afraid of being replaced is the one who feels they are starting to fade. The question was no longer, who will win this match? But rather, will the winner truly grasp the future, or merely be the one the audience chooses at this moment? Who is chosen, and who is forgotten? The match ended after nearly 3 hours of breathtaking intensity. The winner, Alexa Eala. No spectacular aces lifted the audience out of their seats. No life-saving, superhuman retrievals. But in the final set, when Sabalenka started committing unforced errors, when her eyes lost their sharpness, people realized she didn't lose because she played poorly. She lost because she was fighting a ghost, the fear of being replaced. Eala didn't jump for joy. She simply raised her racket to the crowd, giving a slight nod to her team. When approaching the net, Sabalenka reluctantly shook hands, but did not look directly into her opponent's eyes. And that became the image that circulated across social media. Soon after, a newspaper ran an article with the headline, "The Queen falls and looks away." Immediately, the narrative was reshaped. Sabalenka, the image of the indomitable warrior, began to be framed as the one unwilling to accept the new generation. And Eala, who was merely a young talent, was now portrayed as the symbol of the changing of the era. But let's pause for a moment. Did anyone ask Eala if she wanted to be that symbol? She never claimed to be the representative of the new generation. She never provoked Sabalenka. She never asked for the spotlight. Yet somehow, She was pushed onto the pedestal, not by her racket, but by the narrative. And that is the most terrifying part of glory. It's not always controlled by you. Eala won. But did she truly win? Or was she merely the one the system chose to refresh itself?